So while we're in the topic of Korean football, I'm gonna ask I guess this could be controversial. I don't know. There's a controversy again in Korean football right now. Again, with the national team head coach Jurgen Klinsmann. I guess he's not staying in the country, and I guess that's a big controversy. Which is, a lot of us saw this coming, so I don't know why this is a big surprise, but I guess it is. But the question is, so people had questions about him not staying in the country for long enough, I guess, which could be a concern. I completely understand that. But the KFA actually responded officially that Jurgen Klinsmann is working remotely from his home in the U.S. in Irvine, which is not too far away from where I am right now, which is the funny part in all this. He's about an hour away from me. That he's using Y Scout to analyze and scout players remotely from his home in Irvine. And look, this is a new concept to a lot of the Korean fans. A new type of answer from the KFA. Obviously, we've never gotten this before from them. So purely from a football analytics man like yourself, is this possible?
Well, first of all, I want to give you two answers. One is whether it's possible, the analytics itself is possible or not. Second, why can Y Scout be the tool for this? So I have two different answers.
Sure.
Let me talk about whether Y Scout can be the solution for this. Again, disclaimer. Although Y Scout is our competitor, I don't want to harm them. I don't want to undermine them.
Yep.
But
Let's
I don't want to
emphasize
criticize them. Yeah,
Sure.
but the important aspect is the Y Scout is always based on the TV broadcasting feed.
Yeah.
It's different from how we
Sure.
provide the feed. So we provide the entire field players and goalkeeper, and we provide the interactive video player. They can pan the view, zoom in, zoom out as they wish. So it's literally like a cameraman. Any user can be a cameraman. So they feel like they can experience the feeling that they are sitting on the stadium and they are looking at the game. So then also we can see, okay, so I wanna see all my I need to scout one left back to the national team. So I want to watch back all the left back's movement. In Y Scout it's impossible,
Right.
because in Y Scout only the moment when left back has the ball can be analyzed. So yeah, that's the problem. So if KFA announced that Jurgen Klinsmann is analyzing the game using BEPRO, I want to say, okay, a little bit more likely, maybe. So yeah, so that's one answer. But in terms of whether the analytics itself, the remote analysis itself, makes sense or not, I have to say, although I might undermine our market, but I have to say, no, I can't say it's the ultimate solution or it can be an ideal solution. Because why? Because it's manager. If it's an analyst, then yes, it's fine. Let's go back to the question earlier in the beginning about my metaphor that analyzing the restaurant. How can I
Sure.
maximize the revenue of my restaurant?
Right. Okay.
I can get all the data and I can do some kind of like a data analysis about my restaurant. But if I say I want to cook and I need to source ingredients, but I say, okay, I can cook remotely or I can source ingredient remotely without checking this. No, especially professional level, I believe the core assets, the core job that manager has to do is to build the rapport, to build the relationship with the players, understanding the culture. So there are several things that we can only watch when we are on the site and when we are talking to the players. For instance, okay, are these guys are easily too passionate, right? Easily like too much expressing their angers or frustrations to the fellow players. As a manager, these important aspects, and also they have to motivate them properly. Like, okay, so you had an injury here, but when I see that, okay, you didn't do well, and sometimes I have to make a right saying and the right comments. And also at the same time, because as manager, it's not only about the sporting side, but also we have to engage more about like with the KFA, that we can also talk about some infrastructure. We have to talk about what should be the training ground should be, something like that. So I'm not saying if he's traveling often between the countries, then totally understandable. Not everyone needs to live in Korea all the time, but manager, I believe that the core job of the manager is the player management, player motivation. And for this, in these regards, watching the video, I can't say is 100% fulfilled.
Right. So in addition to that, I don't want to get too much into that because this is going to blow up into a whole other kind of conversation where we're just like analyzing the heck out of Korean football. So I don't want to get into that. But another big debate in any sport, not just in football, is always, they say this here a lot in America: the eye test versus advanced statistics. I'm under the impression that services offered by a company like BEPRO is somewhere in the middle of those two extremes, not leaning too heavily towards analytics, but obviously not closer to the eye test. But although there are elements of eye test in there as well, especially listening to your explanation on your products, would you agree that BPro has struck this balance between these two extremes, or do you feel like BPro kind of still leans towards one side a bit more?
No, we definitely have to make a balance because our vision is try to democratize these technologies to every level, and that means we have to satisfy both sides, both demands, top elite level and also grassroots levels. And I have emphasized quite a lot how easy it is, how it can be quickly implemented to any level. I was speaking a lot about this so far. So let me a little bit more like speaking about advanced metrics. So which is definitely for the top level elite clubs. So most of the, I think, podcast listeners or whoever, they have heard of Moneyball, and some of them might be a very big fan of this Moneyball concept. And the core story about Moneyball is try to discover some advanced stats that no one knows or no one really put a lot of emphasis on. And this was possible in baseball back in the day, but it's not possible in football right now. Why? Because the only data that we can analyze so far is the event data. We call it as event data, on-ball action, number of passes, number of shots, interceptions, clearances, whatever. However, like I said, football is not only about on-ball action sports. It's the off-ball action sports. And in order to collect off-ball action data, then as soon as we get a lot of off-ball action data, that will open up the new metrics, new door. Wow, now even like these kind of things can be measured. So once something is measured, then we can manage. This is a very famous thing. Mm-hmm. So can we really measure it? So now we are entering this era, new era. And we are calling this as a tracking data. So the tracking data means all the 22 players on the field, even referees as well. So 25 people in total. Every single movement. Usually we are using we are doing this as a 0.4 seconds. Every 0.4 seconds, their coordinates, their XY coordinate can be collected, and because of this, we can do it in this way. Okay, this is a pass. In the past, we are usually just counting the pass and say, oh, this guy had a 80% pass success ratio. Okay, what does it mean, 80%? Or this guy had a 90% pass success ratio. Okay, what does it mean? This guy always make a very easy pass when they have to make some challenges. So it's meaningless just to see this data. So that's why a lot of football people are thinking that, okay, 90-minute pass ratio is meaningless. I don't want to follow. I don't want to make any decision based on this. But now we start to evaluate the passes. By the way, in a way, okay, this pass is penetrating three players, or it penetrates the line. It breaks the line. So it was a good pass. Or it was too high. It was too much loft ball, which should have been a ground ball, but it's just a lobing pass. So something like that. Now we are but how we can measure how many passes they were penetrated, or the height and every single point, because now we are collecting every single player's location, their position for 0.4 seconds. And it's a massive amount of the data. Just one game, there are 320K data point, which is almost like 300 megabytes. It's not video, just data, something like numbers. Numbers are 320 megabytes. It's massive amount. It's not something that people can manually collect. It's just impossible.
Sure.
But thanks to the technology like us, we are collecting this kind of information, and we are now building up quite a different, very interesting advanced metrics that we are working together with like clubs like Real Madrid or like a Celtic, AC Milan, Brentford. When we are working with this top level, what we are doing is we are trying to we are the guy who try to implement head coaches or coaching staff's idea into the numbers. So one day, I give you the very clear, the vivid example. So one coach might say, I want to see how quickly we can deal with the transition. Okay, so according to my game plan, our player had to do some action as soon as they lose the ball. So what he wants to do is, as soon as I lose the ball, I want to quickly let them make a counter pressing and then take the ball out of it. So he wants to measure it. How many times that we lost the ball, how many times that we react quickly, and how many times that we actually really regain the possession. These kind of things were not possible when we are not able to collect every single player's position, because back in the day, the only data is we lost the ball. That's all. We don't know when we lost the ball, in which situation, and what was the reaction of the players. But now we can measure it. So if they can see the progress, now they can feed back to the players. Guys, listen, we are doing a great job, or we are not doing a great job. And why we are not doing the great job, we can also make a very detailed breakdown. So now it's just the beginning. Now we are in the era that every possibility, every idea can be numbers. So it's a matter of the time, I believe, that one guy, maybe us or whoever, now the ingredients are ready. So one very genius guy comes in and say, okay, in football, this is the key. This is the key. I don't know whether it's a line-breaking pass or some penetrative movement or pressing, whatever, or maybe completely other concept. But now the world's the environment is ready in order to generate this kind of information. But it was not possible because back in the day when we were just relying on the manual works, this amount of data, this amount of the information wasn't prepared at the time.
So I want to ask like a story-based question here. I was preparing for this interview and I was reading a lot about you. And I read about this very legendary story of how Bologna saved their season after they started working with BEPRO in your earlier days with the company. What was that all about? And what was it that BEPRO did to trigger such a drastic turnaround at the top level of European football like that?
So first of all, the starting point is that we save a lot of times. And obviously, as the level, Serie A, Bologna level, they have to analyze opponents a lot. But again, I'm again talking about the manual works. If I'm going to, let's say I'm a head coach of Bologna or I'm an assistant coach of Bologna, I'm going to have a game against Cagliari next week. I don't know much about the Cagliari players. And so the first job is I somehow got the videos of Cagliari. I have their last 10 games. Wow, okay, last 10 games. Because I shouldn't just watch a couple of games because I might be biased by some result. Maybe these guys in the last 2-3 games, they only played against Juventus, Inter Milan, AC Milan. So this is not their normal play. They make a very defensive play. So I have to watch a significant amount of the games back. But how can I watch 90-minute videos multiplied 10 times? And even though I can, it doesn't really get the best performance because I can easily, because I'm at the end of the day, I'm a human being, I might lose the concentration. So, okay, I started with a huge passion. Okay, I'm going to analyze this game from scratch to the end. But over time, I'm watching 5th game, 6th game. Okay, so I'm tired. So the starting point is we are already breaking down their last 10 games every single moment. So our first question is, what is the idea? What would you like to see? So we just dropped some first point. Okay, the Cagliari's playing style is like this. These guys are the key player in the build-up. So they prefer to make a build-up from the low block. And then or some other way in some other team, they are trying to make more direct pass. So we give this kind of a hint as a starting point. We give this kind of some clues for them, and then they quickly check the moment. Okay, I want to see the starting point of their build up. So I quickly watch all the last 10 games of every single moment that they started their build up, instead of me watching 90-minute videos multiplied 10 times. So as soon as they quickly check this clip, they somehow found something. Okay, when they try to build up, suddenly the side wingers always try to push down the line, or their midfielders are making offering when they try to build up. So, okay, I found this moment somehow thanks to BEPRO. BEPRO didn't tell me that this is the clue. They just gave me the starting point, but I found it out by myself because I can easily watch a lot of video clips without spending a lot of time. And then they can make a proper action. Okay, when they are trying to build up, this is very common pattern. So in order to counter them, we have to, as soon as the center back get the ball, they often try to make an offering from this guy. So we have to make a markman on this guy because he's the key build-up player. But if we make a trouble that he cannot really receive the ball in a very safe position, if we a little bit shuffle them, then yeah, they can't really build properly as they wish. So something like that. So and then they implement this for their training, and then also afterwards they perform it during the game. So what we help them a lot is we analyze their next opponents of the last 10 games, and we gave them a very good starting point. But at the end of the day, it's also coach's job. Like I said, we can give a lot of information, but at the end of the day, it's coach who got this information fully digested and implement to the players. So it's kind of like a mutual works. So, but yeah, I actually feel very proud of that story, the Bologna story, because it's not only about how it ended up, but also it's related to, as soon as Bologna guys, they were our first customer in Italy. And as soon as they saw how our platform can be, how powerful it can be, these Italian guys, they're so much pushing us a lot. We had a meeting on Tuesday, and they just called me a lot that, guys, you should install the camera on Friday now, as soon as possible. And often the Italian people are not working in that way because, okay, we just had a meeting on Tuesday, but you're forcing me to install the camera on Thursday and Friday. Man, give us the time. But we are but we have a Korean DNA. Korean DNA is something that when customer ask, I have to do this. So I still remember we flew from Germany to Bologna with all the equipment in our suitcase.
Oh man!
We flew them. We put the camera and we started to provide the services from that weekend. So yeah, I like the result itself also, but also I like the effort that we made to enable these services and to make this possible.
Yeah. What season was that in this area? Like when was it the drastic turnaround?
I think it was 1920. Yeah, 1920. Yeah.
1920. Cool. Yeah. So we talked about Bologna, the impact that you guys had with a club like that at top level in European football. And I heard some story about how Faroe Islands worked with you guys and they were able to beat Turkey last year, which is a big accomplishment for them. Obviously, this is a team that's not even in the top 100 in the FIFA World Rankings. But not only that, looking at your company CV, it's like you guys are working with Real Madrid, you guys are working with AC Milan, some of the biggest clubs in the world as well. So the question I wanted to ask you was, we talked about it briefly at the start of the show. You said you talked about how you were never really motivated by potential success when you were starting this, but the path that you've taken so far, looking at it that way, do you feel like you're much closer to achieving your objectives now?
It's depending on how we're gonna define the success, how we're gonna define the objectives, and I have to say no, because first of all, I have never drew clearly that this is my end goal. It's just life is just I believe it's just a continuing journey. It never stops. So I haven't really thought that I would be very, very, I'm proud, obviously, but I would stop this journey or I would achieve the goal once I start to work with Real Madrid, once I start to work with Manchester City. Sure. I have never dreamed in this way, but I still see a lot of potential ways to go. And because not only about trying to bring these videos and data, so more and more different teams, not only like top level, but also even back in the day, like the university circles that I was playing. All these kind of level has to have the great assets like videos and data. This is ongoing journey. And then afterwards, in the business perspective, we have several other visions on top of this. It's just this providing videos and data is just a starting point for us because we believe that videos and data is such a huge asset. It has a huge potential. And we can implement several different businesses, not only about analysis, but maybe scouting or maybe like media or even like more like a B2C approach, but whatever. So I think that the company who has especially in the new digital, the new era of the digitalization, the company who has the huge data and video database, they can open up a lot of different business opportunities. So that's how I see And yeah, we are still we are also going into quite an interesting project in sports. Not only in football, but also we are opening up our businesses in handball and basketball as well. So we are also a official provider for some top league games in handball and basketball. So yeah, our dream is rolling, and I don't want to just say this when I can achieve a certain goal, but I'm just enjoying every single moment that we achieve small steps.
Awesome. That's awesome to hear. Yeah, so that's about it for me in terms of the questions that I've prepared. But Young-hoon, do you have any more questions for Mr. Kang here, for Lewis?
Yeah, maybe it's about now, still now, until now, maybe we are talking about good things and good effects on football from analyzing data. So now maybe it's about side effect of analyzing. Maybe not side effect, but maybe in some negative way. I'd like to know how is your opinion about the public, because last year in December I was in Coruña in Spain, because I'd like to visit to Fabiano Suarez, who worked with me in Korea. So I was there, and he was the manager of the team of first division in Spain. So, but at the same time, I'd like to use my time. So, and I wanted to meet Oscar Cano. He was the manager at that time. He was the manager of Deportivo La Coruña. That club is historic club. You know how it was. Now it is in the third division, but it's a historic club, and he was the manager. So I wanted to talk with him, and maybe I was talking with 1 hour and 2 hours. So maybe, but in the conversation, he talked like this. The manager, head coach, being a head coach of Deportivo is good. I liked it, but at the same time, I don't like many aspects, and especially the relationship with public, because now in football we have many gurus, so they get the information, they can get the data from, for example, Opta is famous by offering the data to public. So many people get the data, and they, as you said, the interpretation is important, but public doesn't know how is the model of this team, and how is the strategy, how is the tactics. So they can get the data, and they can get the wrong interpretation. So, but because of those data and because of those opinions, we coaches are suffering a little bit. So maybe because of the media, it's getting more difficult. So at that time, he told me his wife doesn't want him to continuing as a coach, because she knows he gets so many stress. So I'd like to know how is your opinion about this.
Yeah, it's a very good point. Very good point, because like I said in the beginning, videos and data is a blank canvas, and we can get whatever we want. I mean, one example, sometimes, let's say I prepare 3 clips to show players, and I say, okay, guys, look at these 3 clips. These 3 clips are something that we were not really good at building up. So I prepared these 3 clips. But at the same time, with the same video, I can explain also that we are very good at building up. So it's very subjective. I can take this information and exaggerate it as if it's the only truth. Or and I take the other information, I can say the same words. So the both contradictory narratives, contradictory explanation can be done based on the same source. So that's why and because it's a format of objective stuff, it's a format of data, it sounds like this is the truth, this is the only truth. And I'm really very, very careful to try to say something very deterministic, like, okay, it has to be like this because of the data. This is this because of the data. No, it's not. It's at the end of the day, it's a human's work. It's how human interpret it. So that's why it's very important. But in the past, people will always talk, and unfortunately, maybe that's the nature of top level coaches. Yeah. They are always exposed by this kind of the noise. But in the past, they are all just subjectives talking. But now now these kind of some talkings are in a format of objective things, right? That's why it's a bit annoying. So, but I think it's something that's just inevitable. I can't say, okay, I can't try to introduce this idea to the world that, okay, guys, listen, because of this side effect, we shouldn't use data, we shouldn't capture video, we can't do this in this way. So I definitely admit this side effect. However, the something that we have to also show to the world is not only about here is data or here is the very objective scientific stuff, but also at the same time how to read it, how to interpret it, and be aware of the fact that it can be interpreted multiple ways. So the most important thing is what is the assumption, what is the idea, and then I need to use data to validate my assumptions, not in a way that data will give an answer that I have never thought. It should be opposite around. But people are just looking at data as if it's something, it's like a God, that this guy will give me the data will give me the answer. No, the answer is coming from myself. So that's the important aspect. But I think it's just this situation is happening because it's the beginning of a new era, and more and more people are trying to have a debate and conversation, and then maybe even between the fans. One fan might support head coach, another fan doesn't support head coach, and these two guys might start to also talk based on data. And the guy who favors the head coach say, okay, based on data, he's good at this, and the other guy said, no, based on data, this is okay. Then now we can say at least data itself doesn't really harm head coach. It's about how they interpret, how they manipulate their own narratives. So yeah, I think I often use this word, video literacy and data literacy. And this kind of data literacy is very, very important aspects, I believe, in the new digitalization world. We have to deal with it properly, and also we have to make a proper education plan for this.
Yeah, data literacy. That's really interesting. So are we good? Are we covered?
Yeah, it will be all.
Okay, so we're gonna wrap up. I feel like this has been a really resourceful conversation. Probably one of the most educational one we've had so far, really, because our previous two, it was more about, I mean, it was educational too, but it was more about learning about the experiences of the coaches, their coaching philosophy and what have you. But now it's about learning how we obtain information from football. So that to me was really interesting. So Luis, if you can kind of share with us your feelings, you kind of given us a little hint about how you are not out in public a lot, and you just had about an hour and a half talking about yourself and your business. So how was it? How was the experience? And what can we look forward to from you going forward?
Yeah, I was really enjoying this because honestly, I haven't received any questionnaire in the past before this call, but I've just got these questions, and this is really good questions, and even it made me think and also learn something, and it also enlightened me some aspects that this is also the way that I also have to think, and also I have to be a little bit more prepared in the future, because this might be also the questions that some other people will answer to will ask me. So I also need to give a better, easy, simple answers. So yeah, I mean, thanks so much for giving me this opportunity. It was a really good experience. And yeah, I mean, further down the road, I'm not really a type of like a media person. I'm also try to keep humble, and I'm always like sitting in the office, developing the product and meeting the customer. I'm more interacting in this way. But yeah, I at least not by myself, but in the company level, I hope that we can reach out more people, especially grassroots people, because we are too much exposed to the only elite level. But I'd like to let more and more different levels also experience this kind of video capturing and data analysis in their own team. Yeah, so our next journey is we will keep rolling over the snowball, and hopefully we can also give a lot of news about us for the many folks out there.
Yeah, no, thank you for taking your time to join us. And Young-hoon, from a coaching perspective, from a coach like yourself, how did you feel about the conversation that we had to have today? And were you able to learn a lot listening to Luis's introduction of his work and his career?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and especially I liked his metaphor, cook. We have to analyze many aspects. And
nice one. I'm gonna use that.
Yeah. Especially last year before the World Cup, I said once I made a metaphor, and Paulo Bento was a cook, because he has to know what kind of ingredients he has, so he has to know, and maybe I think he got the best result. So, but that time people didn't understand.
Sure.
But
Yep.
but now maybe people understand, and I think his metaphor is very appropriate, and I liked it. And the conversation, I really enjoyed it because personally, I think I got very many benefits from it, but maybe some people doesn't get how much importance this have, the data have, but he wanted to explain every details, and then now I understand it better than before. So I liked it, and I want to thank you. I want to say thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think that about sums it up for us. Thank you so much, Luis, for joining us. Youngwon, thank you for joining us as well. Really enjoyed this one. So yeah, that's it from us for episode number 3 of the CTH podcast. We'll be back with episode number 4 as soon as we can manage. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. Goodbye.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. Appreciate it.